It's a reunion.
Look how pretty. Great. Hi, everybody. Welcome to all of our listeners and to everyone that joins us from across the world today. This is very exciting. For those of you that don't know me, I am Kiesha Lalama. I am a professor in the dance department at Point Park University. Today's topic is really focused on arts education, teaching dance and the evolution of that and where we've come from and certainly where we're going. So today I am joined by a panel of amazing people. I consider these folks my family. For those of you that are paying attention that happen to be alumni, you know these wonderful faces. History has really served us well, and I am blessed and honored to have this very specific group joining me today, again, to talk about arts education, past and future. So let's start with some introductions first. Naila, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You wanna start first? And for each one of you, just tell us your name and your current title and maybe what you're up to today.
Yeah, I'm Naila Ansari. I am a Point Park alum. Woo, PPU. I'm an assistant professor in theater, Africana studies, and also women and gender sexuality studies at Buffalo State College. I'm also here, dance director at Ujima Theater, which is one of the oldest Black theaters in the country. And I'm currently working on a book called Choreographies of Black Women Joy.
Amazing. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Annalee, we're going to jump to you because you're next on my screen. Fabulous.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm so happy to be here. My name is Annalee Traylor, also a PPU alum. I'm a freelance choreographer, educator. Normally residing in New York, but have been living in my hometown of Huntsville, Alabama, kind of just doing what I can here, where I'm originally from. Still on faculty at a school in New York teaching Zoom, and trying to create as much as possible during this time. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. James, hello.
Oh.
Smile.
Hi, everyone. My name is James Manning. A lot of you may know me as James Washington. I'm also a Point Park alum and so thrilled and so thankful to the Pittsburgh Playhouse and Kiesha for having me on the panel today and to be alongside these wonderful women. I am currently the dance department chair at Pittsburgh Kappa, which is a magnet performing arts school for grades 6 through 12. Just doing the thing, completely virtual this entire school year so far, which has been, as we all have said, interesting. But I think if we can get through this, we can do and accomplish anything. Since moving back from New York City and becoming in this position, I've kind of made the transition as obviously making and being an educator as my priority, and dabbling a little bit on the side with some TV and film when I have some time or that option is presented. So that's been really fun, and I'm just happy to be here today.
Well, of course, we're honored to have you, love. Jossie, hello.
Hi. So I'm Jocelyn Herzig. I wore my Point Park proud.
Yes.
I am an alumni. I actually went to Point Park when it was Point Park College, though, and not university. And I went with our host, so we were there together.
Yes, we were.
Oh, yes. And I am the director of the Greer School in Tyrone, PA. I have been here for 20 years. And I have had the pleasure of having Kiesha's choreography grace my stage many times. And the fellow guest artist with me also performed and graced my stage many times. So it is a family, like Kiesha said. And I've had students see them perform and obviously Kiesha teach. So just very proud to be with these fellow artists, and thankful to be asked to be part of this.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, of course. For those of you that are listening and watching today, we always talk about networking, and I always say networking can be a very dirty word, right? But this is really about building relationships. The people on this specific panel, and that's what we've been kind of referring to. Jossie was very much a mentor to me and a big sister, and continues to be so to this day. She was a senior when I was a sophomore, and she was very godlike to me, and I wanted to be her when she was dancing, and made me want to be better as a dancer. And then our other three guests were literally my muses as I was developing my authentic artistic voice as a choreographer. Those three dancers and artists contributed so much to my artistry and who I am today. And so this family on this call, it's a very special, special, special bond that we share. We started this bond way back in 2008, 2007 with Jossie and I. We won't say when, we won't drop dates there, but these bonds continue to grow. And it's really about that relationship building, as I referenced earlier. And in addition to that, it's about believing in the same kinds of things, the same values, the same aspects, the same goals. And of course, we'll be talking about arts education. So I think my first question for you all is, why do you love to teach so much? What do you see in your students that keeps you coming back, and what drives your passion? Whoever kind of wants to go first, and then we'll just kind of circle through.
I'll start. For me, I've kind of delved into a totally different world outside of performance academia, which is a totally different way of navigating. And the research that I've learned and been on this kind of journey since graduate school, to see what I can give my students and the knowledge that they've learned in adjacent to the physical part of it is nothing short of amazing. When I have students come, even like students that I've had, they're like, hey, I remember this thing, and I remember the history behind this, and I was able to tell so-and-so and so-and-so, and I've been able to use it in whatever field that they're in, and that they've just learned to become better human beings from the knowledge of dance, is something that has really been my kind of saving grace, particularly right now during COVID, because I've had to kind of negotiate Zoom and how much knowledge and practice. And I've really been able to delve in and really do that practice as research, which has become very important to me in what I do in the classroom, in the knowledge adjacent with dance.
Fabulous. Thank you, Naila.
For me, I would say, if I can kind of piggyback, Naila, you use the word human. I know for myself, it's like, as I was a dancer, I know that the best version of myself was sometimes pulled out, say, from professors or choreographers or teachers that I had, even you, Kiesha, like not necessarily always being able to, sometimes as artists, we can't, people say this often, but verbalize what we're feeling. But as artists, we can intentionally put it into the way we're moving or the way we approach a class or whatever that may be. And I think as an educator, for me, it's being able to pull that best version of a person out. I think that is what I have been able to truly kind of stand in and really value, and seeing that in kids. And because specifically with me working, 6 through 12, it's just allowing them to feel seen and finding that best version of themselves. It's not about becoming, this professional dancer. Of course, I would love you to be able to do that, but I think it's in this moment, how can you provide or show me the best version of yourself, and how can we grow from there? So that's something that I think really just pulls it out for me. That's what really seeing the best version of a young artist, and how can we go from there?
That's beautiful. Thank you, James.
I'll go next. So like I said, I've been teaching here for 20 years, and we're grades 7 through 12. And as I get older, teaching longer, people that come back are like, you're so nice now. Like, what happened? Like, but it honestly, like it's seeing these kids, especially right now, like what they're doing in these, because we are live, and we're dancing mass every day, and the just what they give you, and just being there, and just the perseverance of what they're doing. It's just, like, honestly, I feel like I almost could cry like every day. It's like, just to see them, like, and the joy of when they achieve their goals. It's just, it's so rewarding. We had a student that graduated from here and went on to Arizona, and I had the pleasure of seeing her dance with Paul Taylor last year before everything happened. And honestly, I said to her mother at the end, I'm like, that was better than winning $1 million. The reward of seeing my student, our students, like obviously other people, but to see her like from here to on stage at Lincoln Center with Misty Copeland, like it was just a bucket list. And it's just so rewarding.
Great.
Yeah. I think just to kind of relate to anyone that's in school right now, I remember graduating and just thinking of teaching as like, it was just going to be a mandatory part of my lifestyle as a professional. Like, no matter if I liked it, no matter if I didn't, or if I was indifferent, no matter if I was good at it or bad at it, it was like, I almost equated it as like a means of survival, I guess you could say. But I quickly learned that when I started teaching and had the opportunity to be in these young people's lives, I felt such a passion and I felt such a deep sense of care to any class that I was facilitating. And I think kind of like what it boils down to me on like the deepest sense is it really resonates with me on a soul level. And Naila speaks about this a lot. Like teaching for me is like kind of a gateway to joy. I've realized that over the years. So yeah.
So true. I mean, I think about you guys, you're my children. I mean, you're my children. It's a gateway to joy. I would love to go a little bit further and dig a little deeper into Jossie. You mentioned that alumni come back and go, you're so nice now. What happened to you? And I mean, you and I have been doing this now. I mean, for me, I started teaching when I was 16 at a dance studio, right? Your teacher kind of puts you in front of the room and then you mimic what you thought you were supposed to do. And so when you first start teaching, it's a learned behavior. You teach the way you were taught. And so then you realize after 10 years, after 20 years, after 30 years, that those strategies need to change. And, you hear those phrases like adapt or die and those kinds of things. But I think in teaching, something that I'm currently really investigating and really thinking about is fostering confidence. And the strategies as a teacher that have to change to actually build and develop confidence today is different than yesterday. Jossie, you and I were raised in that tough love, screaming at you, and you thought that's what you were supposed to do. Naila, James, and Annalee, you were probably on the kind of tail end of that and watch that shift. And certainly the person I am in the classroom today is not the person I was 10 years ago, is certainly not the person I was 20 years ago. Thank goodness. But I would, it's just it's very different approach. And, I'll just say it. I'm currently working on a book and just looking back at the strategies of the way I used to teach. It always rooted in something I thought I was doing right. I wanted everyone to succeed, and this is how you teach to do it. If I did that today, our students would shut down completely. And so through the years where I was reaching maybe 30 students out of 35, it started shifting to reaching 20 and 20, then it shifted to I'm not reaching very many now. And it must be the students. Meanwhile, it's your teaching strategies. You're just not reaching what the student needs. So my question for you guys is, how do you currently foster confidence? How has your teaching strategies changed from yesterday to meet tomorrow's future dancers? It's kind of a tough question, but it's definitely something that is on my mind currently.
That resonates so much with me because I feel exactly what you were feeling like. Right, after I graduated, I was just literally regurgitating personalities, characteristics, and the material that I learned, right? But I guess over the 10 or 11 years, I've had a chance to like find my own identity as an educator. And what I am really talking with my students about right now in the classroom is how we talk to ourselves. Like what's going on up here while you're doing that balance? Or if you fall out, like you're saying, man, that sucked. Or, are you being negative or are you being positive? So I'm really trying to bring that awareness to them. So, and then in turn, say, how can you talk to yourself positively? Because I think that shift is imperative to building confidence and instilling confidence. And then, being able to achieve literally whatever you want to achieve.
That's so true, Annalee. I think about all the times that I went home feeling terrible because of what a teacher said to me. And then I realized when I was teaching that I was mimicking these same actions, and I didn't like feeling that way. So how did the student feel? And then the weight of that, like the heaviness of that negativity. And then I started shifting into this positive approach. And it's so fun, the joy, right? Joy, again, that word, it's just fun when it's positive. And then when you're up, everyone else is lifted with you. And there's so much that can come from that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. For me, I found that collaboration, we just had to do a big, a gauge of like strategic planning for student success, because it's really difficult when we're losing a lot of students in colleges and universities due to COVID, and we had to figure it out really quickly. How do we retain our students? And I found that finding a way to connect with them with what they know through collaboration. Generation Z is a generation that group thinks a lot. And so they typically don't like to answer by themselves without knowing that they're right, because they've had so much access to information via Google. Like they've had things way before we could even think about, being able to get information that quickly. We had to actually read a book and not find it online as easily. And so with that, I found in this digital space that, connect to someone that is in the media studies department that works in film. What does that look like? And it forces people to have that experiential learning that they can't get access to immediately. And so that's been something that I've been kind of like pushing and fostering, even on the Zoom. I'll say, a check-in, how are y'all doing? Drop a 1 in the chat if you're feeling good, drop a 2 if you're all right, drop a 3 if it's not good today. And then in that space, like everyone's in it together. And so finding community through collaboration is something that I'm finding is building confidence, not just in our students, but in me, because it's not easy to teach a generation that has access to literally everything at the tip of their fingers. And so for me, the experiential part of it has become more effective than I thought it could be, particularly right now.
Great.
I think it's also like I run with this idea of like, Kiesha, I believe you used the word fostering. It's like fostering and finding their voice. I think that's really important. I think, as our training, our voice wasn't needed necessarily in a sense. It was like that routine and ritual of like, do what I say, which I still think I stand firm in this also, that there is a happy medium with teaching those rituals and that respect of a dance class completely. But it's allowing, the students that are in front of you or this generation to understand that their voice is heard, their opinion is valid, their ideas are amazing, and I can use them, or I can read the room and say like, okay, we're going to shift and do something else today because this is going to be a challenge. I think that we would have never had that opportunity to kind of sway, say, a teacher or choreographer to kind of, adjust their lesson. I just think it was in the time, it was not really appropriate. That's just not what people did. It was like, you're going to do what I say. So I think for me, that's what it is. It's fostering the voice and allowing, dancers to understand that it's valid. Your opinion, your emotions, what you're feeling. And I think, Naila, as you mentioned, in this virtual space, I think it's even more. It's, times 10, because it's like, you can't necessarily feel the room or take the temperature of the room as you would in the room, right? We're in a virtual space, but it's creating, a space where they can say like, I'm not feeling my best today as an artist, or, I didn't have the best class. So, and allowing myself to kind of reflect on that, when I know, as I keep saying, like, say 10 years ago, even myself, I would have been like, well, you need to figure it out. We got to keep moving. Like it's not what I would do today.
It's so interesting. And I feel that, it's that saying, dance is not a democracy. We've all heard it, and that has to shift so we can really address and lean into our students. We have to be able to lean in, because how can you help if you're not listening. And so that has definitely been a tremendous shift in the culture and dynamic of the actual studio, the classroom. That's great, James. Thank you for sharing that. Jossie, what about your perspective? You're more along the lines of my era of exactly what James is saying. No, moving on.
So I just actually, like, I'm in the studio too. I just finished my 3-hour ballet class that any of my students are on right now. No, Monday.
Yes.
And I actually was talking to them, and I said this just today. I was like, confidence is knowledge. It's the knowledge that of what I'm trying to instruct to them, that they are able to take what I'm giving them and take it with them and not need me as much. That's what I'm trying, like a parent, is what I say, like, it's a teacher's like a parent, that we're raising you to hopefully go out in the world and be confident in yourself, and that you can like go through your path. And I was saying, though, obviously we have friends that like help guide us, but definitely knowledge. Also, I'm very clear and always explaining this is a very safe place. That's my word. You're safe here. You're safe with me. And I think that also helps, especially the students I have, open up quickly, that they understand that it is, obviously I'm strict, I teach, but it's a nurturing, everything I'm doing for them is to help them. Like, I try to explain that. And I also start out every year telling the students, especially new ones, if you respect me, I'll respect you.
Yes.
And I think students will say that I am, like, even though they're younger, I show them such respect because they show it to me.
Yes.
And between the respect, the safeness, like, it just lets them blossom. And I just feel like that's what just makes them like open up, not afraid. Like, that's why I tell them, like, don't be afraid. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm here to guide you. Like, we're all here to guide you, you know? And also over the years, Kiesha, and everybody knows it, like, I was here for a good 8 years by myself and trying to explain to students from all over the world and trying to explain, well, this is what it looks like. Cause I have horses out back. And trying to explain. And I'm like, they're not understanding. So I was like, okay, I'm going to create a gala. Like, and so I did. I started bringing in companies and bringing in guest artists and just trying to bring in more and more. So visually, even these students would see and understand like what I've seen, like, and that also, like, that knowledge of just visually seeing different artists and coming in the door. I think that also, like, over the years has really not even helped my students, other schools as well. So.
Well, and it's what you said, information is confidence, right?
Mhm.
It provides confidence, and it's so important. I mean, just kind of staying on that topic of confidence, I've seen today a lack of confidence compared to the people I'm looking at on the screen. I mean, Naila, I think you laughed. Freshman year, I was doing something. You're like, I'm on to you and your strategies. I walked by and you looked out of the corner of your eye. I'm like, she gets it. All right, good. She's on to me. And you know, it's like those you were confident. You walked in, you knew you guys were there to get your work done. I've had moments with all of you. Annalee, I'll never forget the night we started the bench. I played a song we were doing abs to. I can't think of the name of it right now, but you made eye contact with me in the middle of abs and you're like, tonight is going to be a good night. You were just, you know, James, the confidence in the bench, creating that show with you and the dances we've created. I don't even know how many we've done together, but Jossie, you walked in a studio and we're like, let's go. I mean, you were in charge of the studio 708 with Ron Tassone. Jossie was in charge. She was a student. She was in charge. I see a lack of that, again, circling back to that word joy and that word confidence. For our listeners that are students today, what kind of advice can you give them so they can build their confidence? And Annalee, you talked about this a little bit, the voice in their head and trying to get rid of that, but how can we encourage our kids and instill a deeper confidence in themselves?
I would love to jump on that if that's okay.
Please. Thank you.
I think in terms of confidence and just in the era 2021 that we're in such a space of equity, diversity, inclusion. I think, you know, if I can speak frankly, I've never been the size of a normal dancer. So that allowed my confidence to always be just rocked. I will be really honest. That's something that when I walk in a room, a choreographer wasn't going to look directly at me. I think I was able to find my brand in a sense, using that word of standing in my truth, and I'm going to show you what you want to see and let's do it. I had to it's like proving yourself. So I think for me, it's allowing yourself to fully stand in that truth, which isn't always easy. And it's not easy when seeing, so many other people that are trying to do that, or you see it on social media or whatever it may be right now. And in this space of virtual completely, finding confidence in who you are. But I think that would be my strongest answer, really identifying like who you are and stick with it. That's really it. And it's what we said at the beginning, creating, your network, your communication, the conversations, keeping in contact with people, being nice, sending and saying thank you. All of those things I felt as a dancer and now an educator, choreographer, every little bit has tied together. There hasn't been one where it's like, I completely did that and then I forgot about it and walked away. It's all been connected. So that's also something, as you establish just who you are, stand in it and keep the people that, push you in that positive direction around you and keep those positive relationships.
That's great.
Yeah, I think I have to kind of cite Urban Bushwomen on this. I never really had the language for it. And I did the Summer Institute with Urban Bushwomen and I finally found some language. But it like asset building. I think all of us on here are just very realistic about who we were and who we weren't. And like not to cite, I don't know if y'all know Mr. Petrov that are watching. Love Mr. Petrov, but I remember him like, and I never got it when he said, he was like, you don't know what you know what you don't know, you don't know what you know, and you know what you know. And like, I don't know if you guys remember, he used to say that all the time. I'm like, okay, what is he talking about? And then now as I'm older, I'm in spaces where he's like, you don't know what you don't know. And that's okay, but you have to be willing to listen to know that you don't know it. And also you have to be able to recognize what you do know and what you do well. And that you have to outsource what you don't. And I think without us really knowing that, we knew, like, I was just not about to be up in a ballet audition. I mean, we had to do it, but like, I just knew I wasn't getting the part. So I wasn't even like butthurt if I didn't get it, because that was not my asset. And I think right now, given social media and the world that we're in, everybody's told that they can do everything. And we just need to be realistic about that and hone in on those skills that we are really good at. Yeah. And then what ones that we aren't, we can look to other people for guidance or help.
And for those of you listening that don't know, Mr. Petrov was actually the founder of the dance program at Point Park College. Jossie, that was for us. So Nicholas Petrov was the founder of actually PBT as well, Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, and Point Park's dance program. So lots of great memories there. Lots of great. And his words, they still ring true today. Yes. The advice, legendary. It's fabulous.
One thing but what I talk about quite a bit, especially to my students, and I've read books on it, which a lot of the books I was reading was because of injury or injury prevention, and is the ego. Mm-hmm. And we all have it. I mean, I struggle with it, but I try to talk to them about the ego and how you have to try to let that go and not worry what others think about you, that you, again, like, and I talked to them a lot about when I was younger, and if I could go back to my younger self and talk to her, the things I would say to her, to just help her, because I mean, you're insecure, there's people around you, obviously very talented people, it can be very intimidating. Then you have some of these, strong faculty members. I mean, it can be overwhelming. So there again, like we talk about the ego but quite frankly, at Point Park, what helped me was my friendships, and like Kiesha, Cheryl, like being in class with them and knowing they were pushing you and helping you. And that, again, that family bond that you have forever, that's what I've tried to keep, especially in my program, like that, because we're all girls' school. So I say the sisterhood. And again, that nurturing, that keeping that environment safe, and that we're helping each other, again, just I feel like makes that confidence come out in each other. And also I talk a lot about like people who help me, like Cheryl Mann, I watched a lot because she was just so effortless, her dancing, and I struggled at that. So I I watched her a lot, and we talk about that. We all have some gift or something we're great at, and let's use each other. Let's help each other to become better. It's not one person, it's all of us coming together, which is even like I said, with the gala and everything, it's everybody coming together, helping each other, making the arts just like, but that's one of the things with confidence I think helps too.
Mhm.
The whole idea of competition, it needs to go away. We're here to support each other. And once again, you lift yourself up, you can raise others in the room, and then the entire environment becomes an elevated experience. And I think that we always did that, and this group did it. And now it's just reminding people that you can celebrate your win. It's a small win, but you can like own your assets, exactly what Naila said. But celebrate that small win. It's okay. If you did the triple pirouette, it's okay to go, yes. And that's something that again, circling back to the word joy, you know. All right. Annalee, did you have any thoughts on that?
I did. Some words that popped into my head, I guess, eliminating fear, something I try to figure out how to facilitate and cultivate in my classroom. And then kind of just jumping back to what you all have spoken about is what were my assets? What is my asset? Okay, not my feet. So how can I get people not to look down there, right? And I just remember going to the studio as often as I could by myself and improving, figuring out who I was, my voice. I think that's what helped instill confidence in me. Definitely practice who you want to be in the studio. Everyone's also said outside of the studio, how you cultivate your friendships, how you interact with other people that you will probably be with, if you're in this industry for the rest of your life. Like I will be seeing these people on this panel probably for the rest of my life, hopefully. I pray I do,
You're stuck with us.
Yeah, gratefully I am. But yeah, just kind of just reiterating what's already been said.
No, it's beautiful. And I love just the idea of self-discovery, taking the time to get into the studio and discover what you enjoy, how much you love it, what makes you move, what kind of music do you like to listen to? That's the fun stuff. That's when it gets fun, is really just a self-discovery. That's an exciting moment.
Yeah.
I do want to invite our guests to please, ask any questions. You can put them in the chat, and I will absolutely ask our panelists to answer them. And until we start getting some questions, one more thing I have for you guys. What advice do you have for our young artists today?
I would say don't be afraid to venture out into worlds that you may have not known, recognized, or knew existed. I can say from my own experience, Kiesha had to like talk me through this MFA situation because like I was like, I don't know what this is. And it's very different coming from a conservatory background because it is absolutely not the same in a state institution in the politics of academia and being like the only Black woman of color in entire arts and sciences at the school I'm in. It was a lot. And I needed that guidance, and I needed to be open again to know what I didn't know and to be able to ask for advice and to also recognize that there's a different world in dance that I did have an asset for that I didn't recognize, that people like Kiesha had to recognize for me. That is like, oh no, you could totally do this. And I was like, oh, I can write, I can read theory and talk about dance in that way, because I had really never seen it. I never knew that was something that I can have for myself, because I really didn't see a lot of Black women in this position to be able to know it and know it to be true. And so that's something that I would offer, is that you have to be able to be willing to see outside of what you may have not recognized was for you.
I would say, like, kind of piggybacking, Naila, on that, recognizing the things you may not know you have interest in or even are able to do, but it's also about finding the time to do the work. I think that's my one thing that I would say, doing the work outside of being told to do the work. I have found that, you know, I feel like anyone can have a seat at the table in a sense. That's a way to look at it, but it's being invited back to the table time and time again. And I think that comes with, what are you doing after you do the job? When you leave, are you able to reflect and kind of enhance, all of the choreography that was spit out in that experience? How was the interaction with, say the creative team, or the relationships you built on that project? But there's always work to do after, before, even during. I think that's something that, as artists, we are constantly thinking that, like, what else can I be doing? How else can I be doing that? But I think as I graduated, it's like we know that, but we don't know that. Again, going back also to the Mr. Petrov, like, you don't know what you don't know. It's like, that you should be doing that, and you should be, doing all this additional work, but it's like not necessarily knowing how or when or what, but it's just always being prepared. I think that's, and if you don't know the answer to that, or don't know what that exactly means, or how to be prepared, ask. I think that's the biggest thing that I continue to talk about too, is, reaching out to the network you have, or a former professor or a friend. And, there are people, again, it's like I consistently will see all of you on this panel, but there could be times where I don't speak to you for months, but I could easily shoot you a text. I could easily send you, an email and ask, what do I do? How do I do this? So I think that's also a part of doing the work, finding the answers, and then going from there.
I was going to say almost exactly what James just said. Put in the time. He's right. I feel personally that more and more it's the instant gratification is not going to happen. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. And again, and Kiesha keeps saying the joy, like, if you love this, you'll know it's what you want to do. And I also was going to say exactly what James said, like, ask questions. That's one thing I've never been afraid to do. I'm not afraid to say, I don't know that. Can you explain that to me? Like, even 2 years ago, like, did you hear of this? No, did you hear of this company, Josie? No, I know I haven't. Can you let me know about it? Like, I mean, that's what, with everybody coming together, but don't be afraid to ask, for sure. Keep training. But yeah, I agree completely with what James just said.
Yeah, I think kind of veering off in a different light, something that I've come to learn about myself is just trust my intuition. And I think you can interpret that in so many different ways, but I think my intuition has been my biggest, it's guided me to where I essentially need to be on the path that I need to be. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. But yeah.
Gut instinct, intuition, listen, pay attention.
Mm.
Jason McDowell, pay attention.
Mhm.
Attention.
Attention.
Yeah.
So important. We do have some questions, so I'm going to jump into the Q&A little segment here. So a student is asking about how would they go about not giving up, right? So they have family that is telling them that they're not strong dancers and that they can't dance, but then they're dancing in front of faculty that are telling them, fabulous, it's great. How do you keep going when you're being torn? And it can get a little confusing when you don't have support from your family and your kind of anchor or your roots, right? But then over here, that noise is like, you can do it. How do you not give up? You guys have any advice on that?
Just keep working. I mean, you can show them, but you can tell them. I mean, I was supposed to be an attorney according to my family, so that
I
didn't happen.
remember that conversation.
You remember that?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until they came to one of my first shows at Point Park when they're like, "Oh, this is like a real thing." Because prior to that, all they saw were dance recitals and like kind of community work, and theater was kind of seen as more of the like upper echelon of arts, which I didn't necessarily go that route. And just continually putting out work, and also recognizing that there's intellect in what we do as well. And I think oftentimes a lot of people dismiss that about how brilliant dancers are. And so that's something that I also am like very cognitive about in any work that I do, is like, I this is the work that I'm doing, and I also can speak about the work and why this work matters.
That's great.
I think something so amazing about what we do is the perseverance and the work ethic that we develop. And speaking to the person that asked the question, you know how bad you want it. You know that it's your deepest passion. And there's been people that, like Naila said, are at the upper echelon that have failed so many times. I've auditioned for this company numerous times, and I got it on the 7th time. I applied to be a part of this choreographic festival 5 times. I got it on the 6th time. I'm just here to tell you, believe in yourself. You can do it. If you want it bad enough, go for it. Don't let anyone stop you from like what your soul desires. And you know you want it bad enough.
That's
Go for
awesome. Annalee, that's so important. I always talk about the book of no. You read someone's bio, you read someone's resume, right? The sexy highlights. Look at this amazing stuff that I've done. No one looks at the gigantic book of no. The 4,000 denials of nope, 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 nope.
Right.
No, 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 no. The book of no is different than the bio, the sexy highlights. You know, back in our day, Jossie, the cliff notes. I don't even know what they call it today, but you know, it's wild. No one talks about that. Thank you, Annalee. That's great.
That really resonates because this is so silly, but recently Anne Hathaway was on RuPaul's Drag Race as like a special guest, and she talked about how she was, I think it was, don't quote me on this, like the 11th pick for Devil Wears Prada. She was the 11th pick. So to me, that, Kiesha, as you're saying, like no one talks about the no's. Right. No one ever hears that. We see the bio, we see the resume, we see the, social media posts of what you are doing. But there are so many no's. So many people are getting the no's. And it's, I think that's a conversation that sometimes I have started to have, say with students that are juniors and seniors, the reality of as we're applying to programs or we're doing this or that, like it may not go the way you want to, but that doesn't mean that's the end. There are so many different ways to figure this out. So Annalee, to piggyback also what you said, if you know this is what you want to do, push, do it, fight for it. If it's sitting there that this is something that you are passionate about, find it, run with it. And also, as Naila said, just maybe like allow your family, educate them. Maybe they don't know, maybe they're unaware. You have to also see that side of it, the flip side, that maybe they've never been exposed to the amount of work that someone could have as an artist. We think like even on television, all those people that are working, say even behind the scenes, or even say the seamstress or, the grip operator, all those different jobs, those are within the arts. Someone may have no idea that, your dance degree could allow you to get a job like that, which could make even more money, than maybe your family has made in the past. It's just maybe allowing them to understand that there are so many different tiers of the performing arts that maybe they're unaware as of right now.
Yeah, if you are, like Annalee said, passionate, if you get to live your life working in your passion, that is truly one of the best things that can ever happen to you. I have many people in my life right now that are working at jobs that they don't like, they don't enjoy, they're unhappy. Like I feel bad for them that I love coming to work. And I didn't think I would love coming to work because again, like I think James said, like we were dancers and then I had to become a teacher. And that was a hard transition. And I did transition into it, but that's what I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Like, and like they all said, like we hear no's still, like I still hear no's, but like, again, there's the good and the bad, but if you're passionate about it, that's a gift if you can do it. So have faith and just go for it.
Great. I'm going to move on to our next questions because we're going to be running out of time here soon. So someone is asking about COVID and post-COVID. What skill sets do you believe the dance educators need to ensure students have in preparation for a new reality in the dance industry? Okay, so what other skill sets do dancers need to face post-COVID situations? Have you guys adapted to the new kind of teaching strategies? Are you providing your students with new skills considering that everything's probably going to look a little different when we come out of this. Like dance on film would be something, you know, these kinds of things. Are there any skill sets that you would recommend some research for our students?
I think it's like
Technology. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, James.
No, go ahead, Naila.
I was going to say technology is key. I know there's now the New York Public Library is actually giving out kits, technology kits for folks to learn how to create their own works. So that's just a resource that I'm just going to plug out there for people that are like still trying to figure out, because we don't really know when live performance. I'm in New York, so we're totally like not really functioning in the arts in that way, and really being current, not just in our field, but in multiple fields. And I say that because, like James talked about in terms of equity and inclusion, that's huge. And what is your art saying? What is your art speaking to right now? And again, I'll go back to collaboration. That has been what has held me through this time to be able to, like, in terms of performance, I put out more work this year than I ever had, because it's a lot easier in a lot of ways, particularly with COVID, to create work virtually. Not that that's the thing I absolutely love, but it's the ways that I am able to create my own archive and collection of my work.
Great.
Yeah, I think it's also like just allowing yourself to learn those different skills. You know, I think during, say, quarantine, I figured out how to edit my own website, or like how to add to that website. So making sure all of those tools are also accessible. I think from here on out, it's going to be like, okay, well, send me everything, as if, I mean, we did this before, but I think even more now, like, okay, send me everything, you know, send me your website, send me your reel, send me your CV, like immediately. Like that stuff should already be done and kind of on the website and already there. But I think maybe we were able to, as dancers, sometimes rely on, say, like a graphic designer or someone else that could maybe do those types of things. And I think, you know, I'll speak personally for myself. It's something that I took the time to figure out. So I think as dancers, maybe as you're coming out of this, take the time to find the new skill, updating all of your materials, all of those types of things, because, you know, if we think we're in such a virtual digital setting, someone wants something and they want it, you know, yesterday. So it's like those materials, you want to be able to have them. And I think that's something I learned, because, you know, you don't want someone asking for something and it's like, oh, well, I have to edit it. Okay, let me upload it. Like, no, we can just, you know, and everything is on YouTube. Watch a tutorial. That's basically, you know, how to take a payment, how to make your website a business, all those types of things. You know, if you put the work in, you'll be able to figure it out for sure.
Great.
Let's see, I think, I don't know, in my Zoom classes, like, we're not doing Grand Allegro. We're just staying in our room. So what's going to happen when you get back in the studio and you're going to have to do really long combinations that are all jumping up in the air? You know, maybe just considering what you can do for self-care and maybe cross-training. That was something that I could recommend. You know, your warm up is imperative, but also your cool down, and maybe developing more of a regimen for yourself that you create and do on your own schedule before we're back. Or maybe we're never back. Who knows? Hopefully we are.
Are we good with that? I have another question here, which I think will be really fun. And this might actually take us towards the end here, but all right, here we go. What is your favorite memory from your time at Point Park?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, this is going to take us to like another.
Oh, I don't have just one. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, there's
That's what I mean. There's so many. How do you have? Yeah. Let's talk about what are some great memories that, you know, contributed to your success today. That'll help. Because there's so many.
Oh,
I don't know. Point Park was like definitely the best 4 years of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds cliche, but it really was. I can't think of just one. I'm going to keep thinking.
Honestly, I'm like one of the biggest advocates for Point Park. I send kids there all the time.
Wearing a Point Park sweatshirt.
I know. In case I was
Hold
hot.
up.
I was the first.
I need my merch. I need my.
So, dude, I'm like, listen, love Point Park. They changed my life. thank God I went there. I mean, I tell my students that every day, thank God I went there. Thank God for the people I met. I mean, the friends that like I think James even said it, like the dance world's so small, and like you might not talk to someone for a year, but I could text them and I know they would like drop anything for me. Like
Right.
it is a family. Like I can't pick a memory because I have one, and it wasn't even a park. It was in New York City. We were at an audition and there was a bunch of us auditioning, and I don't think any of us got the job. And at the end, I don't even remember who it was for. At the end, whoever was in charge came to us and we're like, who are you guys? And they thanked us for coming because we made the audition so fun, and we were cheering each other and screaming for each other. And they were like, thank you for that. That environment was so fun. Like,
Right.
and we left, like, we didn't get the job. And we were like, but it just,
Yeah.
that's one of the memories I would say.
Yeah, mine is the relationships that were built. I think they are forever, just to, tag onto what everyone is saying. I think that would be it. That really is it. The relationships, the never ending relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think constantly celebrating like the wins. It's like we're literally like a family. Like I always say Kiesha's my second mom. Like it's like legit. I think that it's interesting because now I think we've always celebrated each other's wins, even though there was that kind of like competitiveness while we were there. Cause of course people want to be in like, they want to be in the shows. I think that's human nature.
Yeah.
But it was also, again, I feel like we were really realistic about things too. It was like we always knew like, oh, hey, that's Annalee's all the way. And like, and if that was the case, and you're like, okay, we would push Annalee to be like, oh, we know she really wants to work with that choreographer. Like let's maybe take the L on this audition and like let Annalee, like that was who we were in school. And so I feel like even now that we're out of school, we do the same thing. Like every time someone gets a win, we celebrate it. Like and we are like unapologetically happy for one another. Like I don't ever remember it really being like an envious space. And I think that was what made Point Park so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And we also like gave people shade and like threw the tea and like all the things too at one another. Be like, okay, you were a hot mess. And they're like, yeah, that wasn't really good, right? You're like, no, that was not good, right? But I think that we had that honest dialogue with each other that I think really helped us in the real world, because when we met people that didn't wish us well, we didn't need that, because we had the community of our friends and our family at Point Park to always be like, that's okay, don't even worry about that. You got something else coming. And I think that sums up kind of the memories that we all had there.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So in closing, I just, I look back at all of your careers and your time at Point Park and where you are today. I am beyond proud to call you my family, hands down my family. My students, my sisters, my son, it's crazy. My children, it's just wild. Relationships, I think, are vital to just human, again, joy. If you guys have any parting words for our panel, or for our listeners today, and for people that might watch this, considering the state of the world, I'm going to go, bigger than just Point Park Dance Department. Considering the state of the world, do you have any kind of parting words for us today that could leave us just on a better path?
Be soft with yourself. We're all in this together. I mean, everyone's experiencing this. Just be kind to yourself and know that it's going to work out. Again, that positive mentality, just putting that out into the atmosphere can just elevate and uplift everyone around you and yourself. Compassion for yourself, compassion for humanity.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, following the context of joy, recognize that your movement is in joy, whether it's political, whether it's community, whether it's self, and whether it's in play, and to find all those moments that you can find joy consistently, I think is really important right now.
I mean, Annalee said it. I might call her for some therapy after this session. I call her and have her talk to me a little bit longer. Sorry, but no, I mean, like what she's, I have to remind myself, it's not just me. We're all in this. Like, and I feel like I have to be like, Jossie, like, it's everybody. It's not just you. So it's hard, but like she said, she was have compassion for yourself, and it was beautiful, Annalee.
Mm-hmm.
I know I need to take my own advice, reminding myself that too. So thank you.
Mine would just be, each day is a new opportunity to grow and have that compassion with yourself. I think in this space, for the last year, it has felt very mundane, like it feels the same because, again, we thrive on that interaction in the room and that energy and, together, being together. I know, especially all of us, like, don't get us at a table. We would never get up. We'd have the conversation for hours. We could go all night, But I think in this space, it's to remind ourselves that each day we can approach it a little differently, be compassionate with ourselves, and, ultimately we will grow from this. And I feel like we have learned a lot of new skills and new ways to adapt and just adjust, even if it's the way that we approach, say, our teaching method. So each day you're allowed to, have a good day, have a bad day, or, grow from it.
On closing, I just want to thank each and every one of you, and certainly to everyone that joined us today for the Pittsburgh Playhouse Dance Speaker Series. It has been such an honor, such an honor. I love you all so much. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us, your experience, your advice. It is absolutely just, what is the word? I just feel blessed right now. So thank you. I'm sure you guys are willing to open up your hearts. If people have questions, they can find you all through social media. I know you guys are all around. So I know these people personally. Please, if you have questions, don't hesitate. Reach out if you want more information. But again, thank you for joining us for the Pittsburgh Playhouse Dance Speaker Series. It's been an honor and pleasure. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.